Welcome to Sex and Breakfast, the sexy way to start your day. Dishing out sexpert advice and spicy insights about sex, love, and everything in between. Hosted by sex coaches and therapists from around the globe.
Hi, welcome back. So, what's simmering in the pot this morning is all about a reset, a reboot. And as the new year begins, there's always this collective buzz about starting afresh, self improvement. How can we reinvent ourselves? And honestly, I can tell you that it can feel very, very overwhelming. So here's my offer. Instead of getting caught up in the pressure of renewal, we want to offer something gentler, which is a reset that comes from checking in within yourself and not just performing for the calendar or FOMO. So this is a moment, if you have a space where you can journal, feel free to grab something to write with. You can pause this episode now so that you can get what you need. Because this episode is meant to be reflective, so almost like a quiet, private chat with yourself with no rush, no expectation, just curiosity. All right, welcome back. So if you are having your journal and everything, you are all ready. And yes, we all know the drill. And to be honest, I personally never been a fan of resolutions because they often seem rigid and driven by should rather than truly what feels right with you. And I notice in my work, year after year, I see a lot of New Year resolutions fade away within a week, a month, and many feel pressure into making one in the first place. How about the rest, ladies? What do you think about New Year's resolution or reboot? Do they energize you, stress you out, or quietly disappear by the end of week one?
I personally dislike the word resolution because I have had that in the past. So I stopped using New Year's resolution probably I think it was when I started working in the art community like 10 years ago. I quit my teaching job, and just within the first year, I met this woman who she was like, no, forget resolutions, just reconnect and, like you said, reboot. And she would lead whole journeys essentially on New Year's around it. So that's when I started doing the reconnect reboot piece.
I actually am a huge fan of New Year's resolutions. I love them, but I'm also like a big personal development person. And so I like to see resolutions as like more as a little nudge, like a little tiny moment of self honesty about what I want more in my life, what is energizing me in the future. And then what matters isn't the resolution, it's the everyday choice to show up for myself, even in the smallest way, to this potential new possibility. And I might come out, I always start my year and I might have a whole bunch, but the fact that I've acknowledged it by the end of the year, I've noticed just because of that acknowledgement that generally I hit maybe half of those ideas just because I've put it down into existence. And so, yeah.
I love that because it's a different way of looking at resolution because some people really beat themselves up when they can't hit their target goals. And so shame comes in, but the way you look at it, it's very different. There's like somewhat an honoring of your plan and also a gratitude piece around that. Thanks, Nicole. Dr. Noralyn.
As a Capricorn, I am all about
Which side
setting.
are you in?
Yeah, I would echo Nicole's enthusiasm to set some very, very high goals and resolutions. So, but I've had to acknowledge the disappointment I often feel. And um, I think for the last decade, my resolution has been to, one of them has been to be able to do the middle splits by the end of the year. And let me tell you, after 3 weeks of the new year, I am out of my stretching practice. So that told me something. That gave me a strong message. I finally got the hint that was like, maybe I can shift towards um, consulting myself and my values and my desires in a gentler way. And my favorite way these last couple of years has been through oracle decks and tarot cards. So I like to do a little New Year's ritual for myself to kind of ask for the cards to mirror what I might be desiring to shift rather than middle splits all the way.
That's another interesting part, isn't it? It's like infusing some sense of spirituality as well into the work that into this work of resolution, reboot. Yeah, yeah. Fun fact, okay. This is not to dissuade you from any side. The research actually shown that about 80% people do give up on their resolution within the first month. And a survey by Forbes last year found that 62% of 100 respondents feel pressurized to make a New Year's resolution. So the survey also pointed out that women also feel slightly more pressure to set a resolution than men. Okay, so I guess there are different ways to look at this. It could be, is it do we really do a smart goal in terms of our resolution? Smart goals meaning, are they specific enough? Are they measurable? Are they realistic? And all that stuff. Or is the resolution is too big, but then you don't have the clear plan to execute it. But in any case, in both cases, if really the question is if resolution don't really last, what's the alternative, right? And so I guess for me, this is where the idea of realignment, even reboot, I do ask myself, is reboot um, is another term of um, resolution dress up in the flowy summery dress. I'm not sure. So anyway, let's dive into what's the difference between resolution and realignment or reboot. Okay, a resolution can sound like this: I will lose 10 kg, 5 kg, or 20 pounds in the US in by the end of the month, or I will stop doing this, I will start doing that. So it's very outcome focused and performance. It's all about results and can sometimes be disconnected from our own actual life experience. And sometimes it's heavily relying on willpower. And so, hardly surprising, the whole approach can fall apart where things are busy, life happens, overwhelming, and unpredictability, things happen. So, the way I see realignment or reboot is it's going towards a more honest view, something that you can step into at any time, even now at this moment, at this second. You can even start your realignment. So we usually use questions like, okay, what shift in me? What needs attention? And what would feel good to realign? So really it's more of a space to adjust, revisit, to question, to calibrate. And I like when Noraline say, okay, let me consult my tarot card, because sometimes the tarot card offer that outside input into our subconscious and ask ourselves, okay, what is it that we need to recalibrate rather than a dramatic overnight change. So yeah, it's about welcoming back to yourself again. And of course, since we are all sex coaches and sexologists, we have to discuss a topic that often overlooked, which is sexual realignment.
Yay!
Because our sexual self evolved. Absolutely, right?
Woo!
And why we do that? And why we do that? Because our sexual self evolves. Age, stress, relationships, and all the seasons of our life, and our desires shift. Things go quiet, things go busy, and sometimes there's a spark wanting attention that we keep ignoring. We can't revisit that. So a reminder again, so this conversation is not about fixing anything. It's more about reconnecting, remembering, and awakening what feels alive in you, revisiting your sexual value, and all that kind of conversation. So, what do you think, ladies?
Let's do it.
On So how do you do this sexual reboot or realignment or resolution? Is this a
I do with my husband. I do. Yeah. I've been doing it, in particular, I've been doing it in a conscious way with my husband since we got, right when we were engaged, where we do the sexual reboot and ask ourselves questions that we're going to be answering soon with your prompts. And we each come up with a word. So, yeah. So I think it's
nice?
important to do that. Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Mm. I see this a lot in my practice, whereby clients create values that they can kind of embrace together or honoring each other values. That's a wonderful exercise. Nicole, Dr. Noralyn, any thoughts?
I love the idea of just checking in with yourself or your partner and being able to say like, "Hey, let's do a realignment." I think I think it's so healthy and so needed.
Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
something that I'm looking forward to being more intentional about. I think with my partner, I think as a practitioner, I can sort of be so focused on helping my own clients and having all of these tools and things and frameworks to provide, and then realize I'm not being as intentional as I could be in my own life. Um, so, for all of you practitioners that are listening to this episode, yeah, a little reminder that this is also an opportunity to heal the healer, right? We need it too for all of those that are in client work. So that's a takeaway that I'm definitely looking forward to putting into practice for myself this year.
All right. So let's dive in. Okay, ready? So have your journal and pen ready. And if not, for audience who are listening at home, you can simply reflect mentally or use your mobile phone. I recommend journal and writing because the sensory aspect of it create a different kind of experience as well. So I'll read each prompt slowly, and you all can especially for you at home, feel free to pause the episode after each one if you want more time. Okay, ready? I like this question. Question 1, prompt 1. What were your sparkling sexual moments in the past year or within this year? So you can consider moments of joy, curiosity, closeness, even playfulness, or anything that felt really, really meaningful and sparkling. I'll give you 1 minute to, for the sex coaches here, I'll give you 1 minute to do it. But for you at home, take as much time as you need. I must say, if you are at home, you can probably put some, light up some candles and have some music in the background, something to nibble on as well while you're doing this. It can be a really nice self-care activities that you can do if you have time all by yourself. All right, so we're going to move on to prompt number 2. What would you like to experience more of? So this one you can really think of, is it sensations? Is that the dynamic, intimacy, communication, energy, or whatever feels alive for you? You can even consider, is there a value that you want to experience more of? So values could be exploration, playfulness, or values of freedom. So you can also look into those kind of questions or reflection points as well from the value standpoint. And so I'll give audience some time to do it. The next question. This one is interesting. What is one thing that you feel curious to try? So it doesn't have to be a big or dramatic things. Even curiosity is enough. So for this prompt, you can download the list in our website about different activities that you want to try, that you are feeling curious to try. And last question. If your sexual realignment or intention had one guiding word for the coming months, what would that word be? So for some people, it could be about a theme. For some, it could be energy you want to cultivate. The energy could be softness, or something more open, something courageous, or it could be the other way around, something that's more fierce, strong play, or maybe something more deeper or connected. And now I'm going to invite our ladies here to share what's their finding. You can share 1 or 2 findings that you find interesting from this journal prompts.
Mine is creative realignment.
In your sexual life?
Everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love these questions because I think they're open enough to allow all stages of life, and also it focuses on the self because we're all in different types of relationships, and we asking for an alignment needs to come from within, and then that blooms outward into our relationship. So rather than potential resolution that says, I want this to happen with my partner, and you're asking potentially for something that maybe isn't possible because it's a will of another person. I love that these questions really bring it back to yourself. Yeah, I got a lot out of it. Thank you.
What's your word?
Oh, my word is passion.
Yeah, I really appreciated the first prompt in particular, to just to start by reflecting on what was good, something that shines, that sparkles from the previous year, because so often our goal towards the end of the year is like, what are the things that I didn't do that I wanted to do? And now let me put the pressure on to make sure it happens this year. And there's some shame wrapped up into that and some disappointment.
Absolutely.
But this was really like, hey, there's probably some things that did sparkle in your own relationship, to sex and intimacy. And if you're partnered, what sparkled with them, to start from that place. So I really appreciated that. And my word is authenticity, because I'd love to connect some new discoveries I had about myself this year and bring them into lived authenticity.
I also love the first question. Sometimes I can spend a whole session just talking about your sparkles moments, because we are so geared and taught to look for what's the problems, what's the what's missing, but sometimes just amplifying what's been great and reconnecting to that can be really, really powerful stuff. And for me, it's about compassion. So that will be the theme of, self-compassion, compassion to others. That's going to be a theme for 2026 in all aspects of life. So yes, for the audience at home, take a moment and really observe what you've written gently, without judgment. And like what we just done now, do you notice any common themes? Do certain desire recur? Is there longing for more, maybe presence, authenticity, joy, compassionate, passion, creativity, or more playfulness and communication? And as for me, I find that this is the core of a realignment, focusing on what's really authentically ready to call you, rather than pushing yourself towards a goal that doesn't really reflect who you are at the moment of your life. So the takeaway message is really realignment, reboot doesn't demand perfection. It simply invites alignment. So happy journaling, everyone, and looking forward to see you in the next year.
Stay tuned for our next episode. Until then, send us some love by sharing, hitting subscribe, and leave a review. It really helps us connect to more incredible people like you. If you want to learn more about sex coaching or therapy, you can find us at sexandbreakfastpodcast.com, and be sure to follow us on Instagram at sexandbreakfastpodcast. The people helping us cook this all up are Michael Merle, creating our tasty tunes, dishing out our audio and video is Max Rainier, and our delectable visual designs by Brie Vilaubi.